Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to do a new unit, which is ecosystem and ecology. The first thing that we'll be doing is about photosynthesis. So, photosynthesis and respiration. Okay, these are the two important things that the plant needs to do to function and be healthy. Okay, so now let's just start moving. As you know that the first ingredient for anything is food, right? So food is what we eat, and because of which we get energy and we can produce oxygen, and our lungs are active, and the body functions well, right? So food is one of the raw materials that we need to grow. Oxygen is the other thing. So without oxygen or food we cannot function, right? It enters our lungs eventually and reaches every cell in our body, and your cells are actually very, you taking oxygen in a very energetic way to make food in our body. Okay, so as soon as oxygen enters our nostrils and then it goes to the lungs, the function of oxygen immediately starts because it goes into each and every cell and it starts activating to create energy. Okay, so the process that uses oxygen to release energy from the food and produces carbon dioxide and water as waste. These wastes move in your blood to your lungs, and when it is removed in the form of gases. Okay, so this process is similar to the process that is happening in our body on a day-to-day basis, right? So same way, the process that uses oxygen to release energy from the food and produce carbon dioxide and water as waste, this happens in the leaves too. Okay, what is photosynthesis? When you say photosynthesis, the word photo means light, and the word synthesis meaning to produce. So process by which plants and many other producers use light energy to produce simple sugar and carbon dioxide and water and gives off oxygen. This entire process of taking in energy and using water and to produce simple sugar. Okay, the sugar that we eat is also sugar, right? So that is the sugar they are producing, and that's called glucose. And that sugar is being produced, and what is being released as waste, it's always water and carbon dioxide. I mean, sorry, oxygen. It's always water and oxygen. Carbon dioxide is what the plants take in, and water and oxygen are released. So oxygen is a waste product, while carbon dioxide for plants is important source for getting their food prepared. Now, the part of the plant that actually prepares the food are the leaves. The leaves contain something called chlorophyll. That is a green color that you see on the leaf. That's called chlorophyll. And that is the one which makes the photosynthesis happen. Okay. So here what you're supposed to be remembering is the term chlorophyll. What is chlorophyll? Is the green color of the plant or the leaf. Okay. Now we'll talk about what a chlorophyll is. Okay, the chlorophyll, what does it do? The chlorophyll is the green color of the part of the plant. Okay, we get that, but what does it do? It takes in, it absorbs a lot of amount of sunlight. Okay, it absorbs all the sunlight from the sun. And what have, it is an important process because with the help of sun's energy, unless the plant is able to absorb the sun's energy, the plant cannot, the leaf cannot produce food, right? So the leaves have something called chlorophyll, which actually can absorb the sun's energy. Okay, the sun's, and we'll later on we'll come to know what part of sun's energy does the plant actually need. The sunlight is combined with water and carbon dioxide and nutrients from the soil. So the sunlight, so the leaf absorbs the sunlight, it takes in the water and the carbon dioxide and nutrients from the soil, and then it creates its food. The chlorophyll processes the ingredients and makes sugar and oxygen. So what does the chlorophyll do? It takes in all this. It takes in sunlight, it takes in the water, it takes in the nutrients from the soil, and then it creates and carbon dioxide, and then it creates sugar. Okay, sugar is the main source of food for the plants. Even when we eat, whatever we eat apple, banana, we eat pasta, whatever we eat, afterwards, and it digests and it creates sugar. So both plants and human beings, when we eat something, the final end product is being created in the body in the form of sugar. Okay. Movement of materials in the plant. Just like you, plants also produce waste products. Most of the water used by the plant is taken through the roots. Water moves into the root cells and then through the plant to use it. Okay. When you pull up a plant, its roots are damaged and some are lost. If you replant it, the plant will need extra water until new roots grow to replace those old lost roots. So this entire thing is generally saying that roots are the important part of the plant which can actually take in or pull in water and nutrients from the soil. Okay. Leaves instead of lungs are where the exchange of gases happen. Most of the water is taken in through the roots. All the water that comes in through the roots, all the nutrients that comes in through the roots are going up the plants, but once they're in the plant, they exit out through the leaves of the plant. Okay, so anything and everything that has to exit out is always been exiting out from the leaves. Carbon dioxide, oxygen, water vapor exit and enter the plant through an opening of the leaves. So the leaves have a small opening. Of course, we cannot see it unless we look into the microscope, but it has a small opening on the underside of the leaf, and then that part of the leaf actually helps to exit out things, and that part of the leaf helps to exchange gases. So if you want to release gas from the leaf or from the plant, if you want to take in gas from the into the plant or the leaf, you have to have a small opening, and that opening is at the underside of the leaf, and that opening is called stomata. So this is how, in general, any plant looks like, right? So you have roots, you have stem, you have leaves, and the underside of the leaf is that's the underside of the leaf. And then here it is taking in carbon dioxide, it is giving out, water vapor, it is giving out oxygen, it is, right? The plants take in raw materials. The raw materials are what? Sunlight, water, right? It also takes in carbon dioxide and nutrients from the soil. So these are the raw materials. Raw materials are materials that are used by the plants to actually make food. Structure and function of a leaf. A leaf is made up of many different layers. So like how our skin is, if you look at our skin is made up of different layers. And then same way to similar to that of the leaf. A leaf is made up of different layers. The first and the foremost layer is the epidermis. But before epidermis is the first layer of the skin we have too. So if you look at your hand, the layer of the skin, the skin that you see is called epidermis. And then, but for the leaves, just above the epidermis, there's something that's waxy kind of coating is there. So that waxy cuticle helps the leaves not to dry the epidermis. Okay, so that helps it to protect the epidermis. Because epidermis is nearly transparent, sunlight which is used for the food to make food reaches the cell. So in plants, the epidermis is very transparent. Transparent meaning that it easily can pass through. So it is in a way very useful because the plants can actually get more amount of sunlight and can make use of make use of the sunlight to produce food, and it reaches the leaves very easily. If you examine if you were in the classroom and we could have peeled a part of the upper part of the leaf and put under a microscope to look through and see how epidermis looks. But the best part for you to see similar kind of thing is to peel the onion, and the thin layer that comes out of the onion, that is the way that almost similar to that of epidermis. So if you want, you can try peeling an onion and then trying to figure out how that skin looks. Now, these openings that we were talking about of releasing gas and taking in gas or releasing water vapor, that is called stomata. The small opening that is on the underside of the leaf is called stomata. What does the stomata do? It releases carbon dioxide, it releases water vapors and all the extra waste gases, which is obviously oxygen, and it exits out of the leaf. The stomata also are found on the stems of the plant, boom, and then more than 90% of the water take in through the root is always released out through stomata, because there's no other way that the leaves can actually release water. In one day, a tomato plant can approximately lose 1 liter of water. Can you imagine that? It releases 1 liter of water, but how do they release? Through the small opening, which is called this stomata. Now, imagine stomata to be a small opening, and there are some things called guard cells. These guard cells, they help the stomata control the size of the stomata, meaning that when there is some amount of water to be released, the guard cells would bulge up, would swell and bulge up and have an opening through which it can be pushed out. What can be pushed out? It can be gas, it can be water, it can be waste products like carbon, like oxygen, right? So anything can be pushed out. And when it is done, pushing out water or any waste product, it comes back as depleted, which means it goes back into the closure pressure. So that is the function of the guard cells. The guard cells actually control the way the stomata has to open up and shut down or close. Now let's just quickly talk about the structure of the leaf. So this is the cuticle. The cuticle is the waxy kind of structure that is there. And then you have the epidermis, which is, if you look at your hand skin, that is the epidermis. And then you have the palisade layer, Then you have the spongy layer and the lower epidermis. And here at the lower part of the leaf, you have the stomata. So when the stomata opens up, this is how it looks. It's opening up and it's pushing out the air, unwanted air, which is oxygen. It pushes out, water vapors. It pushes out extra amount of water, extra amount of gas that is there. But it releases out all the waste products that it doesn't want to the stomata. And once it is done, it looks like that. It looks closed. Stomata usually are open during the day when most plants need to take in raw materials to make food. So stomata, like the leaves are mostly active and does all the production of food, right? By taking in carbon dioxide, by taking water and nutrients from the soil. It takes everything needed and it starts functioning actively during the day. It makes sense because extreme amount of sunlight, or the amount of sunlight that is the main source of energy, it has to have that, right? So, and during the night, the activities actually slow down. So we just finished that. We saw that the leaves have two layers of cells, that is spongy layer and the palisade layer. Carbon dioxide, water vapor, which they're needed in the food making process, fill in these layers of the spongy layer. So the spongy layer is used to fill in carbon dioxide and water vapor. And then in the palisade layer is where the actually food making process happens. This is, of course, what we learned earlier because we finished this unit, the EM waves, which is the sun's radiation that comes down. The part of the plant, the part of radiation that the plants need is also the visible light. That makes sense, right? Because visible light is the light that we can see through all the other things in the nature. So that is the only light that the plant wants. The plant does not want microwaves. The plant does not want UV light. The plant does not want ultraviolet rays. It does not want radio waves. It just wants the visible light. Now, chloroplast and the plant pigment. In this picture of the leaf structure slide, it illustrates that some of the cells contain small green structure called chloroplast. So we have chloroplast. Chloroplast is nothing but the green color substance that is inside the leaf, and because of which the leaves are able to produce food and able to grasp or gather the energy from the sun. It's because of chlorophyll and chloroplast that they're able to grasp and gather the energy from the sun and use that energy along with their nutrients, water, to create food in the plant, which is nothing but sugar. As shown in the last illustration, light from the sun contains all colors of visible spectrum. A pigment is a substance that reflects a particular part of a visible spectrum and absorbs the rest. When you see a green leaf, you are seeing green light energy reflected from the chlorophyll. So we learn this, right? Whenever we see a color of a, so for example, we are seeing a blanket, right? A blanket is in red color. The red color is because that red color is being reflected back to us. That is why we see the color red in the blanket. So same way, if you're seeing green color, is because the chlorophyll is reflecting the green, and so our eyes are grabbing the green color, and so we are able to see that the chlorophyll is green in color. Yeah. In spring and summer, most leaves have so much chlorophyll that it hides all other pigments. In fall, chlorophyll, so generally in summer and spring we see our leaves are all green in color, right? And then because it has a lot of amount of chlorophyll in the pigments. In fall, the chlorophyll in some leaves break down and the leaves change color as other pigments become visible. So in fall, what happens generally, the chlorophyll becomes diminished meaning it becomes lesser and lesser, and then you can start seeing the color other pigments that are in the leaves, and so that becomes more visible, and that's how you see the pink color or the orangish color leaves that come during the fall. The pigments, especially chlorophyll, are important for the plant because the light energy that they absorb is used to make food. So obviously the chlorophyll is actually very important for the plant because the plants will actually try to grab more amount of energy or the sun's light through chlorophyll. For plants, the food making process, which is photosynthesis, happens in chloroplast. So always remember the chloroplast is a place where you make the food in the leaves. Okay, so without the green pigment, which is chlorophyll, the leaves cannot grab the entire amount of energy. So we need to understand that chloroplast is a very important part of the leaf. Food making process, photosynthesis, is a process during which the plant's chlorophyll trap light energy and sugar and energy and sugars are produced. Okay, so photosynthesis, again, this is just a repetition. So photosynthesis is nothing but the process through which the plant chlorophyll traps light energy and sugar and to produce food. In plants, photosynthesis occurs only in cells with chloroplast. So unless you have a chloroplast in a cell, the photosynthesis or the chlorophyll cannot trap energy to create food. So chloroplast is a place where the photosynthesis happens, and chlorophyll is a unit that grabs energy. Besides light, plant also needs raw materials like carbon dioxide and water for photosynthesis and the overall chemical reaction. Of course, I've talked about this multiple times in the classroom. So when carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water, along with light energy and chlorophyll, the plants produce something called glucose and releases oxygen. So this is the formula for glucose. It's C6H12O6, and that's called glucose. And then of course you have oxygen, which is O2, which is oxygen. CO2 is carbon dioxide, and H2O is water. So all this was already being said when we were learning the molecules and compounds. So if you see what is a compound here, we can see a carbon dioxide, we can see water molecule, we can see a glucose, which is a compound, and we can see oxygen. So here we have 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of water, and the light energy, and then it produces something called glucose, which is nothing but sugar, and then it releases oxygen as a waste product. Some of the chemical reactions that take place during photosynthesis require light, but others do not. Those that need light can be called light-dependent reactions of photosynthesis. During the light-dependent reaction, chlorophyll and other pigments trap energy that eventually will be stored in sugar molecules. So this is just again a further explanation of how the process happens, that during the light energy process, the light is being stored and trapped. That's what happens when the sun's light comes, the leaves trap the energy, and that energy is used to prepare sugar molecules. Light energy causes water molecules which were taken by the roots to split into oxygen. So it is the light energy that they grab from the sun. This is with the help of it, the oxygen and hydrogen are split apart. The oxygen leaves the plant to stomata. So always remember, oxygen is a waste product. So when the light gets absorbed, the light energy will actually help all the nutrients to be broken apart, right, into different elements. So oxygen and hydrogen will be split apart, and oxygen will leave the plant through stomata. Again, we are going back to the same thing. Stomata is a small opening through which all the waste products are released or useful products are taken in. Light independent reactions. Reactions that do not need light are called light independent reactions of photosynthesis. So when you do not need the light in it, and it can be done by itself within the leaves, then they are called light independent reactions. Carbon dioxide, raw materials from air, is used in these reactions. Light energy is trapped during the light dependent reaction and is combined to use for carbon dioxide, and hydrogen is broken into sugar. One important sugar that is called glucose is being produced. The chemical bond that holds glucose and other sugars together are stored energy. So again, when the energy is being produced, energy is stored. Remember, we learned about potential energy. The stored energy is nothing but the potential energy. Okay. Again, when the reactions do not need light, it is light independent reactions. Carbon dioxide, the raw material from the air, is used for these reactions. Light energy is trapped during the light independent reactions, is used to combine carbon dioxide and hydrogen to make sugar, which is already been repeated. The same thing again. So they're just saying that these reactions actually release energy, and it can also be stored within the plants. So this is what it is. Photosynthesis includes two sets of reactions, a light dependent reaction and light independent reaction, where it uses hydrogen and oxygen and the light energy, and it releases carbon dioxide and water. So this is the process. Most of the oxygen from the photosynthesis is a waste product and is released through stomata. Glucose is a main form of food that the body produces, because when we take in all the ingredients and we create products, we only create something called sugar. So even if we eat carrots, we eat potatoes, we eat all that, at the end, the body creates and makes it into glucose, and it's nothing but sugar. Okay, the body stores the food in the form of sugar, which is used later for the general activities that we do, or the plants needs to be, and for the plants, it is they use it for their growth. So glucose also is the basis of the plant structure. Leaves, stems, roots are made up of cellulose and other substances produced by the glucose. The products of photosynthesis are used for plants to grow. So now, glucose is nothing but sugar. Whenever we eat anything, whenever the plants create food, they are actually storing all their energy in the form of glucose. Okay. So glucose is sugar. Sugar is being produced once they take in carbon dioxide, water, nutrients, and then the sun's energy comes and starts activating, and this energy is being used to break down the materials to create the end product called glucose. So with that, one more slide. Importance of photosynthesis. Why is photosynthesis important to things? First, photosynthesis produces food. Organisms carry on photosynthesis, provide food directly or indirectly for nearly all the organisms on Earth. Second, photosynthetic organisms like trees use carbon dioxide and release oxygen. This removes carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and adds oxygen to it. Most organisms, including humans, need oxygen to stay alive, and hence what happens, 90% of the oxygen entering the atmosphere today is a result of photosynthesis. This is something which is general knowledge, that obviously when we need oxygen. Oxygen has been released as a waste product from the plants, so we have more amount of oxygen. The more, and carbon dioxide is being taken by the plants, and hence carbon dioxide can be reduced because of the intake of the plants. Now, the breakdown of the food. Animals and plants do not look alike. However, they both are made of cells that break down food and release energy in the process called respiration. Respiration is a series of chemical reactions that break down. So when respiration happens, there are so many chemical reactions that break down the food molecules and releases energy. Respiration occurs in cells of most of the organisms. The breakdown of food might or might not require oxygen. Respiration that uses oxygen to break down food chemically is called aerobic respiration. Now, respiration, and this part is already been told over here. The breakdown of food which requires oxygen is called aerobic respiration. We don't have to go in depth with it. We just have to have an understanding of what aerobic respiration is. Okay. So here again is the same thing, how the respiration happens in mitochondria. So how it is called, mitochondria is a small portion of a plant cell. So respiration happens in mitochondria. The reactions also release energy. Every cell in the organism needs this energy. The figure below shows aerobic respiration in the plant cells. So here, importance of respiration. Although food contains energy, it is not in the form that can be used. Respiration changes food energy into the form that cell needs to use. This energy drives the life processes of almost all organisms on Earth. So again, this is just again the same repetition of what we just did. The waste product, this is what you have to remember. The waste product is always carbon dioxide. The waste product carbon dioxide is also important. Carbon dioxide is a waste product for animals and human beings, and it is a very important ingredient for plants to actually grow. Okay. Aerobic respiration combines oxygen and food to release to give a chemical bond. Now, I want you guys to learn more on the upper part. The aerobic respiration is a, so this part, what is aerobic respiration and how the energy is being released is important, but and then the form of how photosynthesis, what is a chloroplast, what is a chlorophyll is important. So I want you guys to go through this slide carefully, and if you possibly can answer these questions, it would be great. If you have any questions, you can always ask me.